Today, we're unpacking a Remembrance Day tribute from Meghan Sussex that has set social media ablaze. Her message wasn't just a standard post of thanks, it carried warmth, precision, and unmistakable intent. The internet instantly noticed the emotion behind it and the way it beautifully tied back to Prince Harry's lifelong devotion to service. Meghan shared a heartfelt note online honouring those who have served in the armed forces. But the magic came in the words she chose. As my husband always says, once served, always serving. Thank you to everyone who has served, sacrificed, and continues to serve, honouring you today and every day. That line, once served, always serving, immediately caught everyone's attention because it's one of Harry's most memorable phrases, one that defines his identity beyond titles or royal status. By quoting him, Meghan wasn't simply honouring veterans, she was reaffirming the very values that have shaped their lives together. It was a post that looked simple but carried layers of meaning. It celebrated Harry's military history, his unwavering sense of duty, and the moral code that continues to guide his work from the battlefields of Afghanistan to the creation of the Invictus Games. It also served as a quiet reminder that their decision to step away from royal life didn't mean stepping away from service. A thoughtful tribute and a timely message. The timing of the post made it even more powerful. Remembrance Day in the UK and Veterans Day in the US both honour sacrifice and courage, and Meghan managed to bridge both worlds seamlessly. She honoured veterans internationally, showing that service transcends nationality and that their families' work now operates on a global scale. By referencing Harry's words, she echoed his philosophy that service isn't tied to an institution, it's tied to purpose. This idea, which once caused tension between the Sussexes and the royal establishment, has now become a cornerstone of their identity. The post subtly reclaims that message and shows that Harry's legacy continues, independent yet deeply rooted in the same principles of duty and compassion. And then there's the phrase, my husband. Two small words, but they speak volumes. It's affectionate, confident and personal, the opposite of the cold, distant royal tone people were used to hearing. It reminded the world that behind all the noise and criticism, Meghan and Harry are simply two people deeply in love, supporting one another in everything they do. Alongside her post, Meghan included a short video, a throwback clip showing Harry in full military gear during an interview years ago. In it, he receives an urgent call of duty mid-conversation and immediately leaps into action, sprinting off camera without hesitation. That split-second decision became a viral symbol of commitment. It wasn't staged, it wasn't polished, it was instinct, and that's exactly what makes it so memorable. It shows Harry as he truly is, decisive, dedicated, and loyal to his responsibilities. He doesn't just speak about service, he embodies it. For Meghan to choose that moment was brilliant. It told the world, this is the man I married. It wasn't bragging, it was pride. A wife's admiration expressed through one perfectly curated piece of history. Predictably, the post exploded online. Within hours, fans filled comment sections with excitement and emotion. One user wrote, "You can feel her love in every word." Another joked, "We get it, Meghan, your husband is the hottest soldier alive and we're not mad about it." Thousands of others echoed the same sentiment. Pride, respect and pure affection. People praised how Meghan's message managed to be both personal and universal. It wasn't just about Harry, it was about every person who's ever put their life on the line for others. The post resonated because it came from the heart, not from a palace press office, but from someone who genuinely understands service and sacrifice. Fans especially loved the use of the line, "my husband." That single phrase became a trending topic for hours. It wasn't just endearing, it was a statement. After years of being criticised, dissected and misrepresented, Meghan's simple "my husband" showed she's at peace with her life and proud of her marriage. Posting on Remembrance Day wasn't random. It was intentional, respectful and deeply meaningful. While British tabloids spent years questioning Harry's loyalty after he stepped back from official duties, this moment proved that his sense of service never wavered. For veterans and military families watching, it was emotional. Harry has walked in their shoes. He's seen war up close, lost comrades, and carried that weight quietly for years. And now, instead of medals and ceremonies defining him, his actions through Invictus, through advocacy, through his daily life do the talking. Meghan's tribute amplified that truth. She positioned her husband not as a royal renegade, but as a man who found new ways to serve. It was an elegant reclaiming of narrative, something the couple have mastered. Even neutral observers had to admit it. The post was beautifully done. Commentators described it as measured, graceful, and a masterclass in communication. It was emotional without being performative, patriotic without being political, and personal without crossing lines of privacy. Of course, a few detractors tried to twist it. Certain tabloids suggested Meghan was using the moment for publicity, the same tired script we've heard for years. But this time, their outrage fell flat. People pushed back, pointing out the hypocrisy of criticizing someone for honoring veterans on a day meant for exactly that. It became yet another example of how public sentiment around Meghan and Harry is shifting. People are increasingly seeing through the noise. At its core, Meghan's post wasn't just about one day, it was about redefining remembrance for a modern generation. In an era where so much of remembrance is tied to formality and ceremony, she made it personal and relatable. It reminded millions that honouring service doesn't have to mean standing on a balcony in uniform. It can mean showing respect, gratitude and continuity, something she and Harry live every day. And for those who followed their journey, this tribute was symbolic. It marked a full-circle moment from 2020, when they were criticised for laying flowers privately at a Los Angeles cemetery to honour fallen soldiers. Back then, the media called it a stunt. Now, years later, the same sincerity and dedication shined through, and this time, the world seems ready to acknowledge it. You can't discuss this moment without remembering Harry's military path. He trained at Sandhurst, served 2 tours in Afghanistan, and earned the respect of soldiers who saw him lead from the front. When he created the Invictus Games, it wasn't for publicity, it was for his brothers and sisters in arms who needed hope. Once served, always serving wasn't just a quote, it was a promise. And Meghan's decision to echo that line shows how deeply she understands it. Together, they've turned it into something much larger, a lifelong mission that combines healing, compassion, and purpose. Through the Invictus Games, the Archewell Foundation, and their advocacy on mental health, they continue to prove that service doesn't require a royal title. Their work reaches veterans, young leaders, and families around the world, often without fanfare, but always with impact. From a communication standpoint, Meghan's Remembrance Day message is textbook brilliance. It's warm yet deliberate, emotional yet strategic. Every element from her words to the throwback clip reinforces the same narrative: integrity, gratitude, love and partnership. While royal coverage often paints her as calculating, this post reveals the real skill behind that word. Meghan doesn't manipulate, she manages. She crafts her messages so they connect with people, not tabloids. And that's why, despite all the noise, her influence continues to grow. She also reminded everyone that the Sussexes' brand isn't about rebellion, it's about evolution. They represent a modern form of royalty that values service over symbolism, empathy over hierarchy. In doing so, they've inspired a new generation to view public life through a lens of humanity rather than duty alone. As expected, loyal supporters rallied around Meghan immediately. Many pointed out how her tone was the opposite of performative, simple, heartfelt, and real. Hashtags like Proud of Harry, Once Served, Always Serving, and Meghan Sussex Style began trending. Fans reminded critics that Meghan has always supported military families even before joining the royal family. They shared memories of her visiting wounded veterans, writing personal thank you notes, and quietly donating to military charities. For those who follow her journey closely, the tribute wasn't surprising, it was consistent. What's most fascinating is how Meghan managed to silence critics without ever addressing them directly. By posting positivity and pride, she neutralized negativity. There was no clapback, no defensive tone, just grace and authenticity. That's become the Sussex strategy in recent years. Let their work speak louder than the noise. This Remembrance Day moment wasn't about optics. It was about truth. And when truth resonates, even the loudest detractors fade into the background. Beyond the public messaging, this post was also a love letter. It showed how Meghan and Harry's relationship has matured, grounded in mutual respect, shared experiences, and a collective purpose. They don't need stage photographs or royal balcony appearances to prove their bond. They just show it through words, through actions, and through moments like this one. The phrase, "my husband," might seem small, but it's actually a declaration. It's her way of saying, we've built our own path and we stand together. In a world that's tried to separate them, that kind of unity is powerful. Of course, no Sussex moment is complete without a few tabloids attempting to spin it negatively. Certain outlets tried suggesting Meghan was copying royal traditions or seeking attention. But even casual readers saw through the reach. How could honouring veterans quoting her husband's own words possibly be seen as self-promotion? The truth is, the press has long struggled with Meghan's ability to communicate without them. She doesn't need palace photographers or sanctioned events. She can speak directly to millions, and they listen. That independence threatens the old media model, which explains the constant hostility. But this time, the backlash didn't land. People were too busy praising her sincerity, too busy celebrating the couple's unity. In the days following the post, Invictus Games veterans began sharing their own reactions. Many reposted Meghan's message with comments like, "They always show up for us," and "This is why we stand with the Sussexes." It's clear that Harry's influence in that community runs deep, and Meghan's support only strengthens it. Together, they've built something lasting, not a title, not an image, but a movement centered on resilience. Every time they speak about service, it comes from lived experience. That's why their voices carry so much credibility. Stepping back, Meghan's Remembrance Day post symbolizes how far she and Harry have come. From being criticized for leaving the royal family to now leading global humanitarian projects, they've proven that authenticity outlasts scandal. This wasn't a PR stunt. It was a reflection of who they are and what they stand for. And judging by the overwhelming public support, people are finally beginning to see that. For those who still question their purpose, this post gave the answer loud and clear. Service is who they are. Love is what grounds them. And no amount of criticism can change that. Because at the end of the day, as Meghan quoted so perfectly once, served, always serving.